Hey guys, how you doing? Uncle Stef here. Time for some more bald-headed nerd wisdom. So, from $20 the hour to $200 the hour as a freelance developer. So in this video, I'm going to give you the step-by-step what I did and how you can do it and how I train people to do it. It should be pretty informative. I'm talking about going from $20 the hour to $200 an hour as a freelance web developer. Now, you could do it with any type of development, but chances are, if you're freelancing, most of the work is going to be in the web development space. Why? It's just the nature of the business. So I'm not saying web development is superior to client-side development with, I don't know, .NET and C#, or superior to mobile development. I'm just saying it's the most likely opportunity. This video is sponsored by Penpot, a web-based cross-platform editor for both designers and developers. They recently introduced a new feature called Design Systems, which allows you to create, organize, and manage design elements like buttons, icons, layouts, and components that can be reused across one or many projects. Having a component library is especially useful for establishing a consistent style, ensuring uniformity in your design work. This not only saves you time, but also enhances the quality of your websites or web apps, making the design and development process smoother. It becomes especially powerful when working in teams where a shared design system ensures everyone has easy access to the same elements, keeping projects cohesive and efficient. Check out the link below to try Penpot for free. So this is not about being the most talented coder. It's about understanding the business side of freelancing and building efficient workflows. And finally, mastering the art of client management. This is so important. So number one, I talk about developing great workflows, something I've been talking about for years. So you want a solid workflow because this is the backbone of the success of a freelance business. So it's not just about writing clean code. It's about having a process that allows you to deliver consistently and efficiently. So here are things to consider. So you want to manage the whole coding process. You might want to get into version control, although that's less important if it's just one person. So you're looking at tools like Git and just good code editors and just a good protocol in terms of, making sure you got good backups in place and make sure when you deploy it's efficient and it's easy. So good IDEs come in big time in that regard. Having a good integrated development environment will help you there as well. Another thing you want to do is you want to learn to manage the projects properly. So that means managing your tasks, being able to prioritize tasks. So you don't want to get caught up on something that's not really too important to in terms of getting the project to move forward. So managing your task, managing your priorities is a huge part of this as well. Another thing you should do is you look at automating repetitive tasks, setting up boilerplate templates for the project. So for example, when I was actively a freelance web developer, I had my own framework, which was Java Pojo based, Java JSP servlets, Pojos. And so I was super efficient with my framework because A, I knew it very well, and B, it allowed me to create projects from scratch very, very quickly because, well, with the framework, I wasn't building anything from scratch really because I had that framework in place. So these days, you don't need to build your own framework, and because there's so many other frameworks out there and libraries that you leverage, but you have to figure out what will work for you, understand what your choices are, whether it be to use a full MVC framework like Laravel, maybe WordPress. It really depends on the project that you're working on. Point is, you got to understand where these tools work for you and when it makes sense to use them and not use them. And in doing so, you'll be able to become far more efficient as a developer, whether it be a simple website, a full e-commerce implementation, or whatever you want to do, bespoke applications from scratch. So by integrating these tools and these workflows, IDs, et cetera, and so forth, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be optimizing your time and you're going to become far more efficient. So when you first start, because you don't know what you're doing at the $20 an hour level, you are far more or less efficient. But as you progress over time, you integrate better workflows, you understand your tool sets better, you just get better at the job. You learn how to deal with clients more effectively. It just gets better and better and better, faster and faster and faster. So when I first started, what used to take me 10 hours when I first started, fast forward a couple of years, 2-3 years, when I had all these things in place, all of a sudden I'm doing something that used to take me 10 hours, I'm doing it in 2 hours. So the key takeaway, the more efficient your workflow, the faster you will complete the projects. This means you can take on more clients, finish projects in record time, which directly impacts your hourly rate, right? I've suggested that already. Think about the fact that a job that used to take you 10 hours, you can do in 2. Think about how much you can make there. Next point, you want to learn to bid properly. Learn to accurately estimate project times. One of the biggest mistakes freelancers make is to underestimate how long a project will take. This leads to overwork, stress, and ultimately lower earnings. So let me give you a couple of suggestions on how you can improve your bidding and make more money as a result. Number one, you want to break your project into smaller tasks. So instead of thinking of the project as a whole, break it into smaller, manageable pieces. This gives you a clear picture of what you need to do and what has to be done. As you get more experience, you'll be able to do this. One of the key design patterns in modern software development, MVC, Model View Controller. Again, you can check out my other videos. I'll talk about this. This is like the beginning of this. This is a way that they separate the project into 3 distinct components: the model, the view, and the controller. And once you understand that basic design pattern, that basic way of organizing your code, this is a good way to start organizing your projects into smaller tasks so that, again, you become more efficient, more accurate in your bidding. You also have to factor in unknowns. There are always unexpected challenges that will come up. So you need to add a buffer to your time estimates. Some people say 20 or 30% to cover surprises that may come up, but if you're inexperienced, you want to give yourself more of a buffer, maybe double the time. So if you think something's going to take you 10 hours, say 20. As the project becomes bigger and more complex, again, you need more buffer because it's harder and harder to judge how long something's going to take to do if it's bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So the smaller the project, more accurate your assessment will be. The bigger the project, less accurate. And as you get better, as you get more experienced, you'll be much more accurate. So to get more accurate, you should track your time. There are different tools out there like Clockify and so on. I just like using a spreadsheet. Whenever I do anything for a particular client project, I make sure I track that thing. It could be a phone call, it could be email sent, research. Don't just track writing code. Any time devoted to a project rather than playing Call of Duty or Apex, that's time that you have to track in terms of how it relates to the project. What will happen is that over time, you'll get better at estimating because you have actual data to reference. You'll start developing an instinct for it because you'll be able, by tracking things down, you'll be surprised at how much it helps you with your ability to become a better judge of these. Next tip. As you're developing your workflow, you're figuring out the type of projects you want to work on, the type of clients you want to work on. Maybe you want to work for small independent coffee shops. Maybe that's your thing, that's your niche. Maybe you want to work on projects that are strictly oriented towards e-commerce. That's your niche. And I could go on and on, but you get the idea. So what will happen is over time, you're going to develop workflows and you're going to have tools at your disposal, libraries and frameworks and so on, that align with the type of contracts you want to do. So when you go out there and you start bidding, as you become more experienced as a freelance developer, you'll be able to bid on clients, on projects rather, where they align with your workflows. So if you are big into WordPress development and putting up WordPress blogs, you probably want to bid on those type of contracts more often than not because you have everything in place already. A hugely important skill set in the freelance space is managing your client, managing their expectations. The project is done when the client is happy. So you will destroy your project in terms of success or do very well with it in the first contracts, in what you establish as how things are going to go when you first start the project. The client needs to know in advance what it is they should expect. This avoids all kinds of problems. So problem number one, you don't want scope creep. This is when clients start asking you for just one more thing. If it's not in the contract, it's an extra charge. That's the thing. You have to clearly define what's included and what isn't in your contract. Very important, because you will get scope creep. You will get clients say, oh, can we add this? Can we do this? Can we add this little button here? Can we add this little functionality? Can we add this? It has to be clear when you start. Whatever is in the contract is done. After what's specified specifically in the contract, once that's complete, then you can look at other things to do as extra work, as beyond the scope of the contract. Very important. Everybody has to agree before you start writing one line of code. Otherwise, you're going to get into trouble. Let's talk about bespoke, from scratch, raw projects. This is what you want to avoid as much as possible. This means you want to make sure you bid on contracts that align with your skills, align with your workflows, aligns with the libraries you have, if you can. As you get more experience, as you establish yourself, you will be able to pick and choose your jobs and clients more readily. In the beginning, you're gonna have to suffer a little bit. You may have to take on projects that are not necessarily attractive to you, but that's okay because you're building a portfolio, building some skills. Getting back to bespoke projects, customization takes time. So it's tempting to create everything from scratch. That's a noob's mistake, by the way. I was there too. You figure, oh, I want to build it from scratch. I'm cheating if I'm not building from scratch. No, you're not. Top 3 rules of development, my top 3 rules: reuse, reuse, reuse. Don't go looking for code to write. You're going to have plenty to write. So whatever you do, you want to stay away from highly customized projects as much as possible because the cost will just skyrocket that way. And then the profitability is much harder. Again, you want to leverage the frameworks and the workflows that you will establish over time. So related to that, you want to use templates. You want to use frameworks. There's nothing cheating about using a template. There's nothing cheating about using a framework. That's just smart. Frameworks and templates will speed up the development process, will result in better code, better projects, because a template or a library or framework, that code has been vetted, that code has been refined. So rewriting, email validation algorithms from scratch is silly because there's tons of libraries that do it. All right, I hope you found this video useful. I'm Uncle Stef. I mentor people in professional coding and development. I teach you the code, I teach you the languages, the Python, the JavaScript, the PHP, the SQL, and so forth. What makes me stand out is that I teach all this stuff with an understanding of the real world environment, the business environment, the job environment. So I help you to think like a pro developer that decades of experience has taught me. If you like this video, leave me a thumbs below. If you hate my long hair, give me 2 thumbs down. Show your disdain for my flowing locks. And that's it.